Hey, what is up, guys? It's your boy Peter, and today we're going to be going over my Dota beliefs, 10 Dota beliefs I have that I think you guys should follow. So without further ado, let's talk about these, get into it. And these are largely revolving around items, heroes, and then a few concepts. I'd say it's like mostly items, a few heroes, and then a few concepts. So let's get into it. My first one is that every single team should have a drums. I personally think, and you will see this as a trend throughout this video, it's something that I really want to push going forward. It's an idea I truly believe in. And that is movement speed. I think movement speed is one of the most broken things in Dota. The reason why, and this is something I heard someone talking about recently, and it's a thought I've had multiple times in a row, is movement speed is something that constantly affects you, right? Similar to mana regen, HP regen, movement speed is something that constantly affects you. When you buy armor or magic resist, it doesn't constantly affect you. It only affects you when you're taking physical or magical damage. Movement speed helps you get from camp to camp faster, disengage, engage, get to stacks in time, get to rune in time, set up a kill, right? Whatever it is, it helps. It always helps. And in teamfights, this is no exception. 13% movement speed for 6 seconds, which is what drums gives you. For 1,600 gold, this item costs nothing. It also gives 20 AoE movement speed, which in my opinion is extremely important and powerful, is broken. Drums is broken. I believe that every game there should be a drums. There's practically no exception. You might be like, what if your team is all magic damage and they don't use the 45 attack speed? I don't think it matters. I think the 13% movement speed for 6 seconds, if clicked at the right time, with a base of 20 extra movement speed to all allies, with, of course, great buildup, Belt of Strength, Winless. These are two of the best items you could buy on support. Literally has some of the best buildup in the game. And then late game, if you need to, you can change it into Boots of Bearing, which I would not put a heavy priority on. I think Boots of Bearing is typically a bad item, but is certainly not terrible when you run out of drum charges. So yeah, that's my first take. Okay, second one, Winless is a broken item. Not going to spend any time on that, but just so you guys understand, if you have an open slot, if I ever see you guys playing with a branch or some random tango or an empty slot that isn't a Winless, I will kill you. This item is broken. It's just movement speed, guys. I can't stress, I've been buying this item basically every game, 80 to 90% of my games. The only reason I don't buy it is because I don't have slots. Some heroes just don't have slots. Maybe you have Double Bracer, Soul Ring, Wand, Phase, and you're building a Blink on Mars. You probably can't afford to have a Winless, right? Fine. But other than that, you should have this item. The next one is that Shovel is broken. This I'm going to take a bit more time to really break down for you guys. But Shovel, Trusty Shovel, it gives 90 health. It was just buffed from 75 health to 90 health. Okay, 15 health, not that big of a deal. Not that crazy. But I would like to say that a lot of the other tier 1 items that are good have been nerfed. Safety Bubble, nerfed. Arcane Ring, nerfed. Spark of Courage, nerfed. Occult Bracelet, heavy nerf, right? Faded Brooch, nerfed. So a lot of tier 1 items have been nerfed, or just aren't that good. For instance, Lance of Pursuit, when are you ever taking that on a support? Duelist Gloves, you're not taking that on support. Broom Handle, you're not taking that. A Fairy's Trinket, you're probably not taking that, and that also got nerfed. So as you can see, Shovel is one of the only items that not only has not been nerfed, but has been buffed in the tier 1 category. Then, on a 40-second cooldown, which is a key thing here, 40 seconds, that is super low. You can channel for a second, okay, whatever. You get a Bounty Rune, a Salve, a Mango, or a Cobalt. The Cobalt is a creepy dig up, and it gives 20 GPM, which obviously is pretty terrible. That's 20 gold a minute, doesn't give that much. It's not nothing, and it is AoE, but what is good about the Cobalt? Well, the Cobalt can just be sent to deny bounty runes, to block camps, or to give vision up a hill. One of the major strengths of heroes like TB, Naga, Chen, or Enchantress is that they have the ability to send some shit up a hill and say, oh, they're there, the enemy is there. We don't have to put a body in front in order to figure that out. And you might be like, really, Speed, is that actually a use case? Yes, it is extremely useful. I also have this really interesting tech where when I get one of these Cobalts, because I take Shovel a lot nowadays, I take it on core and support, I will drag waves. So let's say I want to stack Ancients or I want to farm a neutral camp, right? I will take a Cobalt that I dig up and I will drag a creep wave and bring it to me. Yes, this takes micro. Yes, it means you have to be one of the best players in the world, which I am. So obviously I can do that, but I believe in you guys, you know? You're disciples of me. Nah, but all right, in reality, I want you to think as well about Philosopher's Stone, tier 2 neutral item, 75 GPM, okay? 75 GPM. On a 40-second cooldown, you can dig up Mango, which costs 65 gold, or Salve, which costs 100 gold, or Bounty Rune, which gives a minimum of 250 gold. The things you dig up from Shovel are all insane. every single one of them is extremely useful. This item is way more than like 100 GPM, and it gives health. I would argue it's close to a better item than Philosopher's Stone. The only upside of Philosopher's Stone is that it gives a mana pool, but it reduces your attack tech. I'm not kidding, and of course that GPM can be turned into any item, which is definitely more useful than, especially in the mid game, than getting regen items. But regen items early game, Shovel's OP, guys. I'm telling you, it's OP. This item is insane. Then Light Collector's broken. It gives regen, and it gives 10% movement speed. 10% movement speed is an insane stat. One of the main benefits of having Yasha as an item is that it gives bonus movement speed. Yasha, a 2k gold item, gives 10% movement speed. Just for perspective, Kaya Yasha gives 12, Sanjin Yasha gives 12. Light Collector, movement speed's OP. It gives a ton of regen. It gives movement speed. It gives like the best stats in the game. Like at night, 6 mana regen if you're not close to trees is straight up insane. 6 mana regen. 6. Okay, Tiara of Celemene, 1800 gold item, which clogs a slot and only builds into big items. Like, these are downsides of the item. It's expensive and clogs a slot, costs 1800, and it gives 6. I think this item's crazy. Next up is Glimmer is broken. I know it's not new news, but I just always like to point out that Glimmer Cape gives movement speed to who you use it on. That's why when you're playing support and you Glimmer yourself, not only do you get a barrier and are invis, you also move at 40 more movement speed. I know this is like the movement speed video. I should just title this video why you should play heroes with high movement speed, why you should take the Warcry talent on Sven at level 10. Which you should. This item is crazy. 25% magic resist, it's cheap, buildup is good. I think Shadow Amulet is underrated item. Cloak is Cloak. This item got buffed. And then the recipe is super cheap. Like, Glimmer Cape's a broken item. Okay, just buy it, please. If you're playing support, most games, you should have a drums and a Glimmer, and your build is probably extremely good. Like, if you don't know what to buy drums and Glimmer, and you will be extremely useful with a wand. Next up, this is a bit of a hot take, and I haven't fully thought this one through yet, so give me a bit of leeway. It's something I've been seeing as a trend, but SNY is better than Manta on most heroes. I play a lot of Alchemist, and I think SNY on Alchemist, I mean, it makes sense, right? HP regen amp, status resist on a frontline hero, strength on a strength hero. It makes a lot of sense on Alk. But even on a hero like TB, like Ame bought it recently on TB, and I'm like, yeah, right? Yeah, I like it. The reason why, TB has mana problems, for instance, right? On Luna, you buy it. This hero has great mana. It tends to not have mana problems because it doesn't really cast spells when farming. So like, illusions are OP on Luna, on Medusa, same thing. Like, certain heroes, of course, Manta is better. Luna, Medusa, I'm not questioning that. However, on heroes like TB and Alchemist, PL, right? Heroes where the Mantas aren't that good, in games where you don't need a Dispel and the enemy team has a ton of hard stuns, even when they don't, like, honestly, even when, like, Dispels are okay, like, let's say you're against Skywrath, I still think there's an argument on a hero like Alk to just buy Sanjin Yasha. Like, you're probably buying BKB later on anyway for the Dispels, and yeah, of course, that means you don't have a Dispel early game, but, like, if I'm playing Jug against Sky, I might consider buying Sanjin Yasha. Perhaps you need a Manta for the Silence against Silencer, and as I've been mentioning, Skywrath, but the cost is so much cheaper. Yes, Manta is a heavily buffed item. This item is very good right now, but Sanjin Yasha has the same argument. Manta is 4550, Sanjin Yasha is a flat 4000. It is 550 gold cheaper, and it is an item that you buy to play tempo. The reason why Sanjin Yasha is a good Dota item is because it gives you health, movement speed, attack speed. It just lets you kind of like play out the game as a carry, be active, be fast in frontline. And so the faster you get it, the better. And Manta gives 10 strength. Sanjin Yasha, of course, considering it's built from a strength item, gives 16 strength. And for a cheaper cost, making you much tankier, you can see why I kind of like this item. It lets you run in and be a psycho 550 gold cheaper without hurting your mana cost or your mana pool as well, which is a big deal on a lot of heroes. Alk, Terrorblade, these heroes have mana problems, and I see them buying Manta, and I'm like, well, now you're going to have to buy a ton of Clarities as well. And of course the argument is, yeah, but those Mantas are going to farm you up more gold. Yes, they will, right? But also, you know, it gets you a lot of gold killing people and frontlining when you get that Sanjin Yasha time. It's just tough. This is a hero to hero, game to game, but I really just want to point out that I think Sanjin Yasha is a super strong item after the change. Okay, next up, chain stun drafts seem to be the easiest to execute. There's not a lot of cheese in Dota right now. I feel like the unit heroes might have a place after the buff to Helmdown 2 on Beast and Lycan got a huge buff, so maybe there's a bit of cheese in these heroes, like Visage as well, Enigma maybe, but I don't know, like a lot of these heroes, you don't see too much Enigma, you don't see too much Visage, you see almost no Beast and Lycan. There's very little cheese, and the meta right now seems to be stun, Sven carry, offlane Mars, mid DK. You know who I'm referring to. I'm referring to Team Falcons, but even a lot of teams, they're picking up on this. Like, that's where Team Spirit is like 8 stuns a draft. But to be fair, that was a team that always liked doing that, right? If you think about Team Spirit drafts, you barely see collapse on a non-initiator, right? This guy is an initiator. And then, right, Skewer into Grip. That's the best example, right? TI, what was that? TI 8? I'm gonna mess it up and people are gonna get mad. TI 9, whatever. Speed, how do you not know the TIs? You're literally a YouTube content Okay, my bad. Okay, let's move on to the next point. Crystal Maiden is a broken hero. I made a video on this for YouTube. I made a video on this for the website. I just literally stomped a bunch of pros with CM. I'm not kidding. Like, I cooked up, I was against Skeeter, Ame, Samael, and like, I picked CM4. Literally dumpster. Obviously, my team cooked too, but I'm telling you, I put on a shift. This hero's insane. The shard is insane. It buys the broken items, drums, Glimmer. Some of the best drums, Glimmer. It's like one of the best drums, Glimmer buyers in the game. Because of the E, you can afford to get away with like no mana item or like no mana regen item per se. You have to buy clarities, of course, but CM's broken. Next take, Bristleback Cooks. I think with Sanjin Kaya being giga buffed, Voodoo Mask being giga buffed, Bloodstone being buffed pretty heavily. Like, this hero is in such a good spot right now. Its Dota 2 Pro Tracker win rate is insane. Its Dota buff win rate is insane. Yes, the Ags got nerfed, but I honestly think there's like a potential build where you don't rush it. I talked about it recently in a builds video where you go the Ags build, but I'm starting to see that maybe you just go like Bloodstone Kaya Sanj, of course with your shard. You buy Bloodstone, then your shard. You have to buy shard on this hero. If you want this hero to be OP, you have to buy your shard. The shard is what makes Bristleback OP. It's Bloodstone and the shard. Then you go Sanjin Kaya with like phase boots, then you go like back for your Ags. And yeah, this hero really does a ton. I'm starting to be a big Bristle believer. Then you go for a late game Shivas or Eternal Shroud, whatever you need for resistances, and pretty OP. And then finally is stacking is OP. Telling you guys, stacking is just good, man. Like, the only downside to stacking is it takes you out of an aggressive position on the map, right? That is the downside to stacking. But now let's talk about all the upsides to stacking. If you stack the triangle, let's say the ancient camp is worth about 170 gold, and the large camp is worth about 100 gold. If you stack that, you're stacking 270 gold. That is most support kills in the early game, for a bit of perspective. That is what a lot of towers are worth. Towers are worth about a 450 gold, so it's quite a bit more. But stacking is worth the same as a lot of support kills. It is worth more than a creep wave. Because you might be like, oh, 270, that is about a creep wave. That's like about a support kill. But also, the support who stacks it gets bonus gold and bonus XP. And on top of that, when you farm a stack in Dota, it doesn't require you to go from place to place to place or take any real risk. And so stacks are just like extremely efficient gold, guys. If your team has any stack taker, I cannot stress enough how little I think people stack. People are so bad at stacking. If you have nothing to do, you don't see any kill opportunity, you've burned through your smokes, your spells are on cooldown, right? You're not at your timing. There are a multitude of reasons you should be stacked. You should go stack. Like, I am literally abusing the hell out of stacks in my game. I'm abusing them. I think they're OP when I play support, of course. I just really believe this. Like, people just still haven't picked up on it. It got buffed and then it got buffed again. Stacking is baseline good, then it got buffed, and then it got buffed again. It's like already a good mechanic that got buffed twice. It's like, how is this not talked about more? So I just wanted to put it in this video. Maybe I'll make a full video on it just because I really believe it's an important concept. I'll show you guys when to look for it, when to do it, etc., etc. But all right, that's going to be all for today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. If you agree or disagree with anything, I'd be happy to hear in the comment section down below what you guys have to say, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace!
And that's all. But remember, before you leave, come on, before you tune out, subscribe to the GameLeap website where we are going to help you get to the next rank. If you're stuck, click the link down below, and I'm out. Peace.